welcome back. Um, so I hope you guys like my first two. Well, my first video was the welcome of my first video yesterday. And if you're here, well, thank you again for coming back and checking out the videos and for being part of my story. I have not put the two songs up because it's complicated to try to record them. So what I am going to do is I'm going to create a playlist and I'm going to put the songs in the playlist and put it in the description. So you don't have to research them; they'll be right there. I was trying to do it yesterday, and it was kind of complicated. And so I gave up, and I'm like, there's got to be another way to do it. So I'll be doing that. And thank you for the people who subscribed and the people who like the videos and the people who left comments. I really appreciate it. This is not easy for me to do, as you might imagine that, sharing my life and being raw and exposing myself to the world like this is is very uncomfortable. I'm really out of my comfort zone, but I want to do it because I think it's very important. So, and as I'm going to be sharing my story, there's going to be some things coming up. Like last night, there's a couple of things that came up, and it was like realizing that, and it's not things that are hurt me, and it's not drama or anything. It's just a couple of little. Like I think me and my cousin used to take baths. We used to take bath together, and for her the water was okay, and for me, like it wasn't. So, and I remember because, like I said yesterday, I only found out 2 years ago what it was, and that it was actually a thing that was real. That it was not me being crazy or me being too much this and too much that. It was actually a physical, not symptoms because it's not a disease, but physical attributions to it. And my son's also a highly sensitive person. I could 99% sure he is. Because I do, like, as I was remembering me being in hot water and feeling it was too hot, and my cousin just playing like it was nothing, she was fine with it. Then it brought up, how many times my son would jump out of the bath, and me being a single mom and having everything to do, and doing everything, just went like, oh, just get back in the bath, or just add a little bit of cold water and, not acknowledging that it was actually very uncomfortable for him. But I didn't know. I didn't know. So, so that was what was coming up last night. It was like, oh my God, I did to him what was been done to me when I was a kid. But it comes down to this is what I want. This is why I want to share the knowledge. This is why I want to share this story. This is why I want to tell you about my life as a highly sensitive person and people not knowing what it was, and everything that entails and everything that I've been through. So some kids or some teenagers or even some adults can relate and find the tools that we have to deal with it. Oh my God. Am I really doing this, people? Oh, wow. And the same thing for when I had a hard time sleeping when I was a kid because of the sheets that were not comfortable. It was the same thing for my son, right? So, yeah, it's going to be a healing process for me for a lot of things, and not that I'm hurting, not that because today, I've not always been like this, but today, I believe and I strongly live for today. Whatever happened in the past, there is nothing I can do about it. Nothing. I can, even if I worry till the cows come home, there's nothing's going to change about it. The only thing I can change is my today and make sure that my tomorrow doesn't look like my yesterday. And that's so I'm not in the process of going, oh my God, I was still and nobody understood me and poor little me. I don't do that. I just don't. Like, I'm done with it. I live it, I feel it, I felt it. I felt it more for my son, like that part of being a mom and maybe not being as good mom as I would have loved to be, but I didn't know. So I did the best I could. And if I would have to do it today, well, over today, knowing what I know, it would be very different, very, very different. And so my today is lived in my today, in my here and now. I get up in the morning and I get to live another beautiful day in Mexico. I get to do the work that I do, and I get to share my life with people around me that I love. And now I get to share with you the story of my life, so I can help others who are highly sensitive people, and that there's tools, and it's not a curse, it's not a disease, it's not a disorder. It's a power, it's a superpower, and it's a gift. And if you're in active addiction right now and you're looking at my video and you're like, she doesn't understand, I do. I do. And as I said, I think I said it a little bit. I touched a bit on it yesterday. Was in my belief today that my highly sensitivity was the reason I used, and the reason I used it was to try and numb how I was feeling and not have all these sensations, and not have all these physical um, sensitivities, and trying to numb that, and forget that I could feel people, and I could I know what people are going to say before they say it, and I try, like, I really believe that because I was a highly sensitive person, my coping mechanism when I found drugs was that. But I know today, after 30 years of being in recovery, that did not help. That did not help. That there's a lot of those substances that increased my um, my emotional state, that increased my cognitivity connection, my spiritual connection, my a lot of people called me a witch and for good reason, because I would know before they know. I don't know how I know, but I know. So, and I'm still like that. So um, using drugs was not the way. It was not the best way for me to deal with my high sensitivity. So there's so if you are using today and you're at your wit's ends, please seek help. Please seek help. It's very important. Like, we need you on this planet. We need you to shine your light, get out of the dark and shine your light, and come into with us. Like it's so beautiful when you finally find your tribe. I always say your vibe attract your tribe, and that's it. It is actually that. When I'm vibrating at this level, I attract my tribe. And knowing that people understand exactly how I'm feeling and that I'm not crazy, it's magical. It's really magical. So the one thing I wanted, I was hoping to share the message today is that if you're a parent of a highly sensitive kid, just be aware of the physical sensations that the kids have, and they will tell you. Usually, I remember telling my parents. I remember telling my mom, I didn't like this shirt, or I didn't like these socks, or whatever it was, and but I was just dismissed all the time as being fussy and as being, a little spoiled brat and all that. So, yeah, that's what I was remembering last night. How many times I heard it was a spoiled brat, and it's not being a spoiled brat. It's being actually knowing that there was something physically not comfortable, So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this other little part of my story. And what song will I would give today? Well, after the two songs yesterday, what I remember was I think it went into Frank Sinatra and Elvis. I can't pinpoint which songs, but I could remember the voices, and I could remember this the feeling. I guess the voices, the feeling, the vibrations of the songs, and I'll try and find one or two because I haven't gotten to that part. Like I said, this is me being really open and raw, and I just want to do this, and I had to start somewhere. So I don't have all the songs. I'm not organized. I don't have all the songs in a row and ready to go and everything. So. Um, I know down the line there's parts of my life like it's gonna be way easier to get all those songs. Like I know precisely what moment which song was playing and everything. But that was a little bit when I was younger. So, and I said I was going to touch a little bit about going to school. And I know this is when I'm because now I'm going to be actually saying it. And I know tonight there's stuff that was going to come up, but it's okay. So when I was actually living on the South Shore of Montreal in Longueuil. And my parents were working, so the neighbors I would stay with my neighbors after school, before and after school, and they have a son named Andre, which was my first best friend, and we would go to school together. So this is how my academy school started. So there's this big, huge thing in Quebec with the French and the English. It's a war. Like if you're French in Quebec and you go on, like I'm going to say on the French side of town, and you try to get served in English, they're just going to dismiss you. And this whole, yeah, anyways, tug of war, I'm going to say. And that's one of the reasons. Winter's my first reason I left, and the second reason was like I want to be able to speak English where I live, because it's just like that, you know, without being scorned and just being attacked all the time. So this little 6-year-old little girl who speaks English before French and has a very heavy English accent when she's speaking French because she learned English before, walks into her first day of school, French school, and was not received very well. Let's just put it this way. It was called bullying. Now it's called bullying. Then they didn't call it that way. Um, I was bombarded from everywhere, everywhere. And being a highly sensitive person, being a highly sensitive kid at that point, it tore me apart. Like I would come home crying my head off. Andre was doing his best to help me, but you know how kids are. There's like, I want to help, but then I don't want to be, don't want to be on that side of things, because, and I understand that. I'm not blaming him. I'm just stating the facts is that I ended up trying to fight that alone, and trying to prove that I was, I was French, and I belonged in school and whatever it was. So my first day of school was really difficult, and my first years of school were like, until I lost my accent, um, which I don't know why I ever did, but whatever. So yeah, those years are going to be the difficult years of me trying to cope with being attacked every day and being bullied every day, and until one day I turned around and I said I had enough. Like I was coming home, and they were behind me and they were throwing rocks, and I can't remember what it was, and then I turned around and I just charged like a freaking mad, like I just charged at them. There was no coming back, man. You want to hit me? Let's go, bring it on. It was like, and I was pissed. I was screaming my head off, and I was like, I was really angry. Like, my anger had reached this point where it was like I exploded. And I think that's when everything just calmed down, because those were the biggest bullies. And then it kind of calmed down. I'm not saying that they welcomed me with open arms, but they left me alone for a while. I think so. Um, but that was, again, what helped me go through that was music. I would come home and we would just sit down and just start playing our records and talking and doing our homework together and having dinner, and then my parents would come and get me, and then I would go home, and then I would just sit in my room with my records. Um, yeah, I know I'm like, for highly sensitive kids, being bullied is really difficult because it's emotionally really hard to deal with, and not knowing how to manage our emotions when we're kids. Um, School is not a good place for highly sensitive kids, and teachers don't understand. I mean, maybe more today if there's. I'm hoping it's an open discussion in schools that there are kids that are different, and yeah, that's another story. That's a whole crusade to be done, to be opened, a whole can of worms to be opened. But we are so highly sensitive. Okay, I'm going to talk for me. I am wired differently in my brain. Like, we highly sensitive people are wired differently in our brains. And I'm going to just give one example how our perception is different from from the rest of the people. Not I'm not going to say normal, because it doesn't mean I'm not. It doesn't mean that I'm not normal if you're normal. We're different. We are wired differently, and it's just a difference. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just different. We have this saying in one of our steps that says, insanity is repeating the same mistakes, expecting different results. For me, insanity is repeating the same mistakes, knowing the results, and doing it anyways. That's how my brain is wired. I'm not expecting a different result because I know what the result is going to be, but I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm ready to take the consequences of it. So when I say that, people are like looking at me like, what kind of crazy is she? Well, that's the way I see it. So if the way I see it prevents me of repeating the same mistakes, if I'm not ready to take those consequences, then it will stop me from making the same mistakes. So that's just an example of how different I see things. Ah, so I don't know if this helps anybody, and I hope you're enjoying me telling you the storytelling of my life so far. And I'm gonna be try. No, I was gonna say I'm gonna try and see. That's how I'm. People would normally say I'm gonna try to do this every day. I am gonna make a point of sending out a video every day, even if it's not. I mean, I don't know how long this one is already, but if it's not 20, 30 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. But I'm going to come on every day, and I'm going to share something with you. And if I don't have like really, and like if I'm going through things and I don't really want to talk about because I'm processing, because it could happen that things are going to come up and I'm going to have to process them before I'm able to continue my story. I will come up and I will talk either about songs, or I have a bunch of quotes that I've kept along the years that mean something to me, and I will share those quotes, and then we can discuss on that. You could give me your perspective on them, because that will show you how my brain is wired to, how how you see things and how I see things with the same quotes. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and subscribe, like, share, comment. That would love to hear what you have to say. And I will see you tomorrow. As always, in love. See you again.